Welcome to the Aikido Silverdale dojo here in sunny New Zealand. Today I want to go through a fairly simple Jo warm-up exercise. It's a figure of 8 exercise. I guess you could refer to it as a hasso. And the lovely thing about this is it takes your wrists through a full figure of 8 field of motion. Now obviously you could do this on your own, but with a Jo in your hand, you are exaggerating the movement and you get a visual cue to the direction your hand and your arm and your body is going in. So I'll run through the exercise quickly and then we'll have a look at it in a bit more detail. So you can do this exercise from several points of view. You can just do it at the beginning of a class to warm your wrists up. That's absolutely fine. You could do this from the point of view of making counter strikes and add some footwork in. But today we're going to keep it quite simple. So thumb up. I always give this about a third of the way down the Jo. Obviously you can do this close to the top. You've got more chance then of hitting the floor, and if you've got a dojo full of people, you want to shorten this exercise a bit for safety if you possibly can. So you're going to be keeping your hand and your elbow as much in front of your center as you possibly can. What you don't want to be doing with this is isolating your arm and your shoulder. So this kind of movement, it's just not efficient. If you can keep your hand in front of your center, classic Aikido golden rule, and feel your hips tracking the movement of the Jo, then you can start to link your body and the wrist movement together. Now as that develops, feel where your feet are touching the floor. Make sure that as the Jo is moving around you, that it's not making you rock from side to side in your feet. So you're not going to the outside of your foot and then rolling into your instep. Try and keep yourself nice and rooted to the floor, nice relaxed feet, nice and soft, but use your knees like shock absorbers. So that as you feel your feet changing pressure on the floor due to this big exaggerated movement, allow your knees just to soften and make little micro adjustments to compensate. Now there's a bit more connection. So now I can feel my feet rooted to the floor. My knees are taking the softness out, and then my hips can generate the power. And after a while, you'll feel that your hip moving back is creating a space for your elbow and your wrist to fall into. So rather than your hand and your shoulder and your arm muscles making this movement, your hips are generating the power and your hand and your arm is just following. And that, generally speaking, is an efficient way of moving. Now this is very useful because this pedaling of the hips, if you like, we use a lot. If you imagine Kotagaishi, Ikkyo, Kaiten, all of these shapes have this rolling or pedaling of the hips to develop power. So if you can isolate this through an exercise, you can become more aware of what you're doing. Everyone's body's different, and you can feel how your weight shifts through your feet. And in time, you get used to isolating the hip movement, and the rest of your upper body should stay fairly independent, so that what's going on down here doesn't necessarily affect what's going on up here. So let's try this again. So once you get used to this movement and you're aware of this pedaling of the hips, have a play with it. Rather than just doing a forward and backwards, almost vertical shape to get this tight to the head, compact rotation, open it up. So it's almost like when you're making an ura and you're drifting back into tenkan, more of a horizontal shape. And you'll find that as your hips are tracking your hand rather than the Joe going close to your head, you start getting more of a bigger figure of 8 shape. If you want to play with a slightly more advanced version of this, try. And change feet and change hands. Change feet, change hands. Change feet, change hands. Trying to do this as slowly as possible. Might get a nice editing person to put a slow motion bit in for you. Blend with it, and at all times your hand stays in front of your center. And the last one, this one's a bit tricky. I recommend you don't practice this in close groups when you first try it, because quite often you'll drop the Joe. We don't want any accidents. So this time we're going to be making our shape, and I'm going to be picking up at the top here. So you've got to wait till your wrist meets its natural maximum shape, if you like. It's almost like kotegaishi. And then I put my hand in, thumb to the outside, fingers to the outside, completely flat. So my elbows are close to my center, and I let it rock through, and I pick it up with my hip. So doing this, 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 this. I'm trying to look at the camera and not drop the Joe. And again, this is a nice flexibility exercise. You have to be centralized on this. If your hands drift outside of your center, this is very, very difficult. So there's 2 little figure of 8 movements you can do with the Joe. I hope they're useful to you. When you're training, try and be mindful of what's happening to your body. Don't just stand there and kind of be thinking about your gas bill and what's on TV tonight. Try and feel what's happening to your body. Feel, how far do my wrists go? Are there any bits where I don't have flexibility? Are there any parts of my shoulder that are tight? Because these will all be letting you know stuff about your own structure, which is useful. Feel how your body is sinking into your hips, the bowl of your pelvis, down into your feet. Be aware of all that. Learn about yourself. Thanks for watching.